Hello, and welcome to Sekahan. Today we look at the Chinese humanoid robot that beat the human 100-meter world record, and at how Japan reacted. In August 2026, at a robot games in Beijing, a humanoid robot ran 100 meters in 8.64 seconds and beat the human world record. But a day earlier, in the semifinal, the same robot could not stop after the finish line. It crashed into the padding, fell over, and threw sparks. That contrast, fast enough to beat Usain Bolt, unable to stop, captures exactly where humanoid robots stand today. Because the real turning point is not the day robots move like humans, it is the day they work cheaper than hiring one. Let's look at how far away that day is. First, a quick overview of what happened. In August 2026, at the second World Humanoid Robot Games in Beijing, a humanoid robot called Tiangong Ultra won the 100-meter final in 8.64 seconds. That is faster on the clock than the human world record of 9.58 seconds held by Usain Bolt. To be fair, the timing methods and race conditions are not those of human athletics. In the same month, the Chinese robot maker Unitree listed in Shanghai. Its shares closed the first day at 5.6 times the offer price and then slumped. All at the record. Fear of a bubble. Global investors are now trying to price a single question. When do these machines start to pay off? 3 questions for today. 1. Can a robot that runs 100 meters in 8 seconds actually do a real job? 2. Why can China develop and mass-produce humanoid robots at this speed and scale? 3. Japan once led this field. Is there still a way for Japan to win? Let's take them in order. Let's look at how fast the record moved. At the first games, in 2025, the best 100-meter mark was 21.50 seconds. At this year's games, the opening day heats produced 9.39 seconds, and the semifinal on August 25th brought that down to 8.86. Then came the final on the closing day. Tiangong Ultra cut the record again and won in 8.64 seconds, 3/4 of a second faster than at the start of the same event. In a single year, the record more than halved. That pace of improvement says a lot about how fierce the development race has become. But the way those runs ended is just as telling. In the semifinal, Tiangong Ultra could not decelerate after the line. It hit the padding placed beyond the course, fell, and threw sparks from its body. These sprint machines are heavily specialized for running, and stopping, it seems, was not part of the brief. A sprint time is a question of peak output for a few seconds. A job requires 8 hours of it, without breakdown, at the same precision, over and over. So 8.64 seconds does not mean the robot can work, and that distance between fast and useful is the starting point of today's story. Now the money side. Unitree, best known for its 4-legged robots, listed on Shanghai's star market for high-tech companies on August 19th. Its shares closed the first day at 5.6 times the offer price, roughly double the average first-day pop for Chinese listings over the previous 3 years. Then the stock fell about 45% from its peak, and Reuters reported growing talk of a robot bubble. Meanwhile, the company's own prospectus shows adjusted net profit of about 40 million yuan in the latest quarter, down 53% from a year earlier. The share price is buying the future. The income statement is shrinking. The two numbers point in opposite directions. Some background. These games are not a private trade show. They are a state event, staged by China's state broadcaster and the Beijing municipal government. 666 teams brought 2,056 machines from 16 countries across 6 continents. And it is not just track and field. The 51 events include practical work, sorting parts in a factory setting, cleaning hotel rooms. Underneath the spectacle sits industrial policy. In 2023, Beijing issued guidance on humanoid robots with a goal of world-leading capability by 2027. Riding that push, Chinese manufacturers reportedly accounted for more than 97% of global humanoid robot shipments in the first half of 2026. One caveat. This is still an early-stage market. The base is small, and it includes many machines shipped for research and demonstration, 97% of a small market. So why can China move this fast? Because this surge is not an invention from nothing. It is a merger of industries China already built. Smartphones supplied the cameras and the chips. Drones supplied the motors and the attitude control. Electric vehicles supplied the batteries and the mass production plants. And generative AI plus autonomous driving supplied the perception and the judgment. A humanoid robot is largely these technologies repackaged into a single frame. The clearest example is XPeng, the electric vehicle maker. It is targeting the start of mass production of its iron humanoid by the end of 2026. In August 2026, its robotics unit raised more than $900 million, and the chief executive said the robot's margins would be reliably higher than the car business. For Chinese manufacturers worn down by the EV price war, robots look like the next high-margin category. A large part of the component network and the production equipment carries straight over, which lowers the barrier to entry. What does not carry over? Fine hand movements and the intelligence to complete a task. Those remain the open problems. And this is not only a Chinese race. In the United States, Tesla is developing its Optimus humanoid, and the startup figure has attracted heavy funding. The shape of the competition is Chinese components and volume against American strength in the reasoning layer. Here is the part many viewers outside Japan may not know. The humanoid dream was cultivated in Japan first. Astro Boy and Doraemon fixed the image of a human-shaped machine working alongside people, and in 1973, Waseda University built what is generally described as the world's first full-scale humanoid intelligent robot. In the year 2000, Honda Zissimo showed the world a robot walking on two legs. SoftBank's Pepper later became a familiar face in Japanese shops. But none of them turned the humanoid into a large business. Honda ended ASIMO's development in 2018, and Pepper's production was reported to have stopped in 2020. Japan still leads in industrial robots. Fanuc and Yaskawa sit among the world's largest makers. But in the humanoid form specifically, Japan stopped just short of building them in volume at a price people would pay. That is precisely the stage China is now attempting. Now for the Japanese reactions. Japan did not just watch these games, it competed. GMO Internet Group entered a humanoid called Hitaman, and the team's own posts on X became the most shared Japanese messages about the entire event. Across Japanese timelines, the dominant tone was plain surprise rather than alarm. Threat framing was largely absent from the widely shared posts. And the way many Japanese readers first met the story was a Yahoo News headline that paired the record with what happened next. Humanoid robot beats Bolt over 100 meters, catches fire immediately afterwards. Here are the posts. Our humanoid Hitaman finished the 1500 meters in 7 minutes 43.89 seconds, 7th out of 35 machines. Thank you for all the support. That post, from Japan's entrant, drew more engagement than any news account's coverage of the record itself. Hitaman ran the 100-meter heat in 24.3 seconds, 13th out of 74. We didn't advance, but some things you only learn by taking part. Remember, the winning run was 8.64. Japan's team published its own 24.3 without softening it, and that one number told Japanese readers the size of the gap better than any news report did. And the most shared technical explanation came from a motorsport account. Swinging the arms like a human overheats the shoulder motors, so the strange running form you see is what repeated AI simulation arrived at as the optimum. The reading that stuck in Japanese timelines: these machines are not imitating humans badly, they are solving a different problem correctly. Now the analysis. The Chinese humanoid that won the 100 meters in 8.64 seconds had crashed and thrown sparks in the semifinal a day earlier. Yet global money keeps flowing into this field because a different number has started to move. That number is the break-even point, the point where a robot's total cost matches the cost of hiring a person. Performance records improve startlingly fast. Profitability moves on a separate, slower curve. Self-driving cars, solar power, electric vehicles, all of them covered long ground between a successful demo and a viable business. The adoption threshold is not the day a robot moves exactly like a human. It is the day a somewhat clumsy robot works cheaper than one. And that threshold is a product of three things: capability, uptime, meaning how many hours it runs without stopping, and price. Let's take them in order. One benchmark is out there. A human warehouse worker in the United States costs roughly $30 an hour. Against that, JPMorgan has been reported to estimate that a humanoid robot's operating cost in U.S. manufacturing and warehouse work could fall below $10 an hour, a third of the human cost. One caveat: a robot does not earn a wage, of course. The figure spreads the machine's price and running costs across its working hours, and the bank has not published those assumptions. So treat it as a scenario, not a verified price. And an hourly rate only means something if both sides do the same amount of work. Trials of current machines report throughput, the amount of work completed in the same time, at around half the human rate. Still, the arithmetic can close. A robot at 70% of human capability, running nearly around the clock at half the annual cost, will find buyers. A robot that runs 100 meters in 8 seconds but keeps stopping and braking will not. Here's the obvious objection. For a fixed task, a wheeled base with a robot arm is still far more rational. So why insist on the human shape? The answer is the world humans already built. Buildings, tools, stairs, doors, everything is dimensioned around the human body. A machine shaped like a human may slot into a factory or a facility as it stands, without expensive rebuilding. A purpose-built machine performs better, but the production line has to be redesigned around it. So the logic of the human form lives on the installation cost side of the ledger, not the performance side. Safety systems and human supervision still cost money either way. So who is carrying this boom? The buyer list is skewed. By one Morgan Stanley tally, orders from Chinese state-owned enterprises, companies owned by the government, exceeded 2 billion yuan across the robotics industry in 2025. Unitree's own customer base is concentrated in research institutions. More than 40 state-backed centers for collecting robot training data have reportedly been announced. A large share of early demand is being carried by policy. Before any comparison with human wages, the record of robots being chosen purely on price and performance is thin. Unitree's founder himself puts the point of genuine usefulness at 2 to 10 years away. In electric vehicles, the loop ran from state support to mass entry, mass production, a price war, consolidation, and export, and produced a global winner in BYD. The hope that the same pattern will repeat in robots, and the fear that state demand is simply borrowing orders from the future, are both priced into that swinging share price. Finally, Japan. Japan struggled to commercialize the finished humanoid, but some of the critical parts that make any robot move are still dominated by Japanese firms. The key joint component is the precision reduction gear, which converts a motor's fast rotation into slow, powerful movement. In gears for medium and large industrial robots, Nabtesco states it holds about 60% of the world market. In small strain wave gears, Harmonic Drive systems is reported to hold 80 to 90%. A humanoid amplifies this. Arms and legs mean many more joints, and industry estimates put the number of reduction gears per humanoid at 6 to 10 times that of a conventional industrial robot. So as long as Japanese parts keep being selected, Chinese mass production converts directly into Japanese component demand. In the era of physical AI that acts on the real world, holding the joints is the competition that matters on Japan's side. But that advantage is not permanent. China is pursuing domestic production of reduction gears as a matter of policy. And Japan has lived this story before. In EVs, the bet that you could concede the finished product and profit on parts was eroded as Chinese makers brought components in-house. The opening is real, and it is not the kind that survives being left alone. Let's return to the 3 questions. 1. Can a robot this fast actually do a job? Not yet. Sprinting and working sit on different scales, and the dividing line is capability, times uptime, times price. 2. Why can China build robots at this speed and scale? Because this is not invention from zero, it is the merger of the smartphone, drone, and EV industries China already built. But note that early demand leans heavily on the state, and expectation runs ahead of reality. 3. Is there a way back for Japan? In components, yes, as long as Japan holds the reduction gear, the choke point inside every joint. Holding a parts niche is not the same as leading the whole market, though, and China is localizing gears too, so the lead will not defend itself. Records for a new technology improve startlingly fast. The point where it pays for itself moves on a separate curve. The number worth watching next is not a race result. It is the first repeat order from a company that decided, without subsidy, that the machine was cheaper than the hire. The country that first imagined the humanoid now supplies the parts turning inside the joints of the country mass-producing it. Whether that is the residue of an early lead or the entrance to the next one is the question sitting behind 8.64 seconds. If you found this useful, please like the video and subscribe. Sources, numbers, and the full article are linked in the description. Thanks for watching.